In the last service, I want to draw your attention to something that happened in the last service. In the last service, Suz did a children's talk where she talked to the children about treasure, as we're talking about today. And she got them to look for a treasure chest. She talked about getting a map and a compass and a torch and some string. She meant rope, but she had string. And showed it to them and got them looking for a treasure. And they found it, I think, behind here. Is that right? I was there. I wasn't looking. And they opened up and they found all this stuff in the treasure chest. But Suz was talking about that we all have treasures. We all have things that we hold dear. They may not be money, but there are things that we hold dear. I want to ask you, what are your treasures? What sort of things are treasures to you?
My partners.
Your partners. So your wife or your husband. Isn't it funny? Last service, that was the first one as well. From a husband. The husbands are the good ones here, it looks like. I only say that because I am one. What else?
Helen keeps reminding us that she's an unclaimed treasure.
An unclaimed treasure. Oh, so Helen is a treasure. Any other treasures? Yeah. Our families, our children and our grandchildren.
And our 6 great-grandchildren.
And your 6 great-grandchildren. I was just about to ask if there was any advances on great-grandchildren. But I wasn't sure if that was fair. What else? What else is a treasure?
Our homes.
Your homes. Now, that's a new one. That's a good one. I like that. Our health. We'll come back to that one a little bit later. But our health is a treasure that we don't appreciate enough.
Money.
Money? Yep, why not? It is a treasure.
My dog.
What was that?
My dog.
Your dog.
The only one who listens to me when I'm wrong.
Our pets. They're like more children, only better. Not always. It's funny, after last service, someone came up to me and said, I should have said my cat. Because they'd had their cat for 16 years and they just died just recently, and they realised how important that cat was to their life. So yeah, they're a treasure. What else?
Our freedom.
Our freedom. Yes. It's a good one, I like that. What else? Your garden is your treasure. And Colleen's agreeing.
Thanks, guy.
Who's the gardener? Jeff. Colleen is not. What else?
My friends.
Your friends. Yes.
Little articles that have memories attached to them.
Can you explain that one, please?
It might be a brooch from your mother or something from somewhere you went.
Yep.
And it brings back memories of the street.
Yeah. So an article that have memories attached to them. So something that was given to you by someone for very special, like your mum. Or last service they said family heirlooms. Similar sort of thing, but you're talking a little bit broader than that, I think. Where, I don't know, what comes to mind for me is you go on a holiday and you've got this, you brought something back and it gives you a really special memory of that holiday. It's something really special. Or even better than that, I think. You've got specific things in your mind, haven't you? As we all would with that, I think.
My relationship with God.
Yeah, your relationship with God. It's a good one. I like that, Les. Last service also, food was mentioned. It's funny how many of the things that we have that are treasures how often do we actually value them as a treasure? How often do we realise how important they are? Now, health is one of those things you appreciate a lot unless you're healthy. Doesn't that make sense? When you're healthy, you don't realise how good you've got it. I don't realise how good I've got it because I'm pretty healthy. I'm reminded of it every now and again when I see someone who's sick, really unwell, or when I get a cold, then I appreciate my health. I don't appreciate it anywhere near as much as I should. The same with food. The only people that really truly appreciate the gift of food is people that have had to do without it for a while. Maybe a way that we can appreciate food more is by fasting. Just something to throw out there, something to think about. We're talking about treasures and what a treasure is. We have all these things that we treasure in our lives. Our husbands, our wives, our friends, our homes. Food, health, gardens. Items with memories attached. I love the way you've worded that. We have all these things that we value as treasure, but really, how much value do they really have? Are they really as important as we think they are? What can we compare it to? What levels do we put the value of these treasures? Money? If we had to make it on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is that as a treasure? Would it be sort of a 1 or would it be sort of a 10? Or would it be somewhere sort of around the middle? Because we need it, but you know, we don't want to be obsessed by it. So maybe we'll put it as a 5. Is that right?
Yep.
That'll work. That'll be our base marker. So where would we put our home? Any ideas? An 8, we need our home a lot. It's a pretty important thing for us. Maybe not need, but we treasure it a lot. That's a better way. So 8. Food. A 10. Someone who knows the value of their food. Okay, what about items that have memories attached to them? Where do we put that? How much of a treasure is that to you? A 10? For Maureen, I reckon it would be a 10. And probably for all of us, those things are very important. They're great treasures. If you had your grandchildren come to your place, and you have good grandchildren, so this won't happen. But just imagine me when I was a grandchild, who... There are people chuckling. Is it that hard to imagine? I was one of those highly energetic, wouldn't stop, kept doing things, running around and just being generally silly. I've got that to look forward to with all of my children. I'm experiencing it now. Imagine one of those children came into your house, not your grandchildren, and they decided they were going to play a game, chasey, say. They run around the corner accidentally, like they're grabbing the corner of the doorpost as they're running around because they're going so fast they can't get grip. They need to hold on to get around the corner. And as their hand slides off the doorpost, they knock off one of your most prized possessions. One of those extra special treasures. And it falls off the shelf and lands on your tile floor. Things don't bounce off tile floors, I'm sure you know that. And it's gone. How do you react? What was that?
Pick up the pieces.
Pick up the pieces? You don't get angry? stick them back together. Invest in some super glue.
And the reminder.
Yes. But it's one of those things. You may have that family heirloom, that extra special thing sitting on that shelf, and you probably walk past it day in, day out. And every now and again you might see it and think, and it triggers off that memory, that special memory. But most times you walk past it without even noticing it. But now, all of a sudden, now that it's gone, if it's broken into so many pieces, no amount of super glue is going to rescue it. It has to go in the bin. Now you're upset. You're sad. You've lost this special thing. It's a treasure. It's important. But we still forget about it. We hold great value on these things. We put 8s on houses and 10s on food and 5s on money, when I probably should have made that about a 9 or a 10, because we do hold that quite valuable. We hold these things in quite high regard. They are great treasures to us. As much of a treasure as if we happen to be wearing a tricorn hat, a black one with funny white pictures on it, and we go on to a desert island and we wander up there with a spade and our shovel and a bit of paper with a big red X marked on it, and we dig up this huge chest of gold doubloons. We hold these things in as much value as that, don't we? We wouldn't want this precious thing to be broken. But there is another thing that we do forget about, one of the best treasures we could ever get, more than that chest full of doubloons, more than our special memory pieces, more than our house, more than our money, more than food, more than our health. And I'm sure all of you here know what I'm going to say. What is the greatest treasure? And that is God. That is our faith. But why is it that that one's the one that we forget? I forget it all the time. Just a couple of weeks ago, was it a couple of weeks? No, it was only a week ago. This has been a really, really long week. A week ago, no, it hasn't been that bad. A week ago, when we were driving back from our holiday, we came up the Great Ocean Road through Mount Gambier, and then, for old time's sake for me, we drove to Kingston and then up the Coorong Road. Most of you probably already know that road. It's a nice road, a little bit different, and it's very windy, but an easy road to drive. And I wanted to drive that road because 17 years ago, I did a lot of work down at Mount Gambier. Every Sunday night, I'd pack up the van with all sorts of stuff, go down to Mount Gambier, work all week down there, putting bed screens up in the hospital, in the brand new hospital that they built. There you go, if you're ever wondering, it's 17 years old. Doing all that stuff. And then on Friday night, I'd drive back to live a weekend. Well, one day of a weekend anyway. And I did that for 6 months. On the 17th anniversary, a couple of weeks ago, it was an Easter weekend. No, it wasn't Easter. It was Anzac Day weekend. I'm pretty sure, the way my memory serves, is that Anzac Day was the Monday. So it was a long weekend, so people were going away. I was driving back. I was going to do these bed screen tracks that I made. They took a while to put together and install. I put 12 together that day, which was a record for me. I was going to do my 13th. But Dad said to me, don't do your 13th, it's unlucky. Now, my dad's superstitious like that. If he wrote a quote, he would never write that he'd done it on the 13th or that it was due to be installed on the 13th. It was just something about 13th. So he said, pack up your stuff, go home. So I went and got my stuff and I'm driving back. I'm driving up that road and it's a great night, clear night. You know when you drive on a clear night and you look ahead, you can see that the glows of cars, and you know when you're coming up to a corner, you know that there's a car coming the other way. And you just know. On this night, I'm driving down the road and I come to this corner. I remember this as clear as day. I came around this corner and there was a bit of a rise where you go through a cutting of sand dunes. And I come around the corner and my first thought was, that car's got to put their high beams off, I can't see. And then I took another take and I worked out they didn't have their high beams on at all. I saw 4 sets of headlights. No, 4 lights. And if you know that road, back then at least, there wasn't overtaking lanes. There is now. This Land Cruiser with a go-kart trailer on the back decided he was going to overtake a sheep truck. And so my first thought, I'd gone through this over and over and over again, what I would do if I was confronted with this situation. And I thought, what I would do is I'll get off the road as quickly as I possibly can, so they know that I'm going off the road so they can stay on my side of the road. Didn't work. He thought the same thing and we both ended up off the road. I went so far off the road that my driver's side wheel was up the embankment, up the sand dune. And I remember just before we hit, I remember thinking, I've stopped. We're not going to have an accident. This is great. And then the next bit is kind of weird. It's kind of just noise. But not crash noise or anything like that. It's just noise. Can't explain it anything more than that. Then afterwards, my first thought after that was, I'm alive. And my second thought was, I'm in a van, my legs are crushed. And so I screamed. As you can see now, my legs were not crushed. Just before that, the reason why that came to mind is because just before that, I'd done a job for this guy who was in a wheelchair. And he had all this wire frame around his legs because he'd been in an accident and his legs had been crushed. So I knew what it looked like. I knew what it would do to me. And then so someone came over to me and said, are you okay? Are you okay? And I stopped screaming. I thought, I am. I've got a sore ankle, but I'm okay. I'm all right. But I can't move because the dashboard is pushed back so far to my car, to my seat, that I can't get my leg out. I was that close to having my legs crushed. And at that moment, I was so excited that God looked after me. He cared for me. He saved me from crushed legs. I appreciated him more than I probably ever had before. Why did it take me being rescued from damage to actually appreciate him? Why now do I still need that sort of thing to help me appreciate what he does? To appreciate who he is. To appreciate that he went and died on a cross for us. This is the greatest treasure that we will ever see or experience. It's better than anything else. If we're going to put on a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 50. Right? It's why when this guy finds the treasure in the field, he sells us everything. Nothing else is important as this. Nothing else matters except for this treasure. So why do we let everything else get in the way? Why do we act as if everything else is more important? Les, if I said to you that I'm going to take away your faith in God, how would that feel?
Devastating.
It would, wouldn't it? it'll just rip you up. Because it is that important. It is that important to us. It should be that important to us. Will you please pray? God, I thank you for what you've done for us. I thank you for everything that you give to us. Lord, we're sorry for the times when we treat you as if you're not as important as you should be. We're sorry for the times when we neglect you. Lord, help us all as we go through our lives, as we go into this week, to appreciate the treasure that you are, to appreciate the gift that you have given us, to appreciate the life that you give. Lord, let us not forget how important your gift is to us. I thank you for that. Amen.